Diabulimia is a form of an eating disorder in those living with type 1 diabetes, in which they primarily achieve lower weight by omitting insulin. And so it isn't typical of eating disorders, although it does involve some restriction. In fact, because of the nature of type 1 diabetes, individuals with diabulimia don't easily fit into treatment approaches that would be typically used for eating disorders. Individuals living with type 1 diabetes have to pay very close attention to the carbohydrates in their foods, to measuring their foods, to monitoring the impact of foods on blood glucose. And therefore, it's important to recognize that this form of an eating disorder often doesn't fit easily into traditional eating disorder programs. There's an important relationship between diabetes and eating disorders that I think is important to understand. Many of us live in societies in which there's a focus on weight, a focus on health, and a focus on eating. And when you live with diabetes, of course, you have to spend a lot of your time focused on eating. So the connection between diabetes and eating disorders is a preoccupation with calories can actually become both a management strategy for type 1 diabetes control, but also puts someone at risk of becoming preoccupied with calories, preoccupied with weight and shape. And we live in societies, particularly for women, in which weight and shape are emphasized to be important, and in some ways, a distorted image of what a body should look like. The essence of type 1 diabetes is to replace insulin that is no longer produced by the body. And so insulin, in essence, becomes a fat storing hormone. It takes the energy from your bloodstream into your cells, which gives you the energy you need to function. But it also allows for the storage of excess energy as fat. And so this is the challenge that many people who are prone to an eating disorder have, which is when they take their insulin, they may experience weight that they consider to be out of their control. And so there's often a real push and a pull between the experience of diabetes control and the experience of weight. And for individuals who are vulnerable to preoccupation with weight and shape, they can discover that omitting insulin will be associated with weight loss, that hypoglycemia can give people permission to eat, and this can lead to binge type of eating, and that the combined impact of a preoccupation with weight and a preoccupation with diabetes control can actually add to the burden of living with type 1 diabetes. What are the signs that individuals who live with type 1 diabetes might be at risk of eating disorders? And it would be around the preoccupation with body shape, body weight, and distress associated with the weight gains associated with insulins and with good treatment of diabetes. If you become preoccupied with weight and shape, and in particular, if your diabetes management behaviors, either trying to restrict your intake to reduce the amount of insulin you may require, or to omit insulin altogether with the intention of having an impact on your weight, this would be a danger sign that would encourage individuals to seek help. It's important to recognize the intricate role that type 1 diabetes and insulin plays in diabulimia. And it would be important for individuals seeking help to seek out someone whom they're comfortable with, where they can talk about how they are administering their insulin as part of their eating disorder. It's critically important to try to remove the shame from diabetes management in the context of diabulimia. The pursuit of low body weights reflects the distorted images that are presented to people in our current societies. And so it makes sense that people would become vulnerable to these. The medical complications of diabulimia are very serious, and therefore it's critically important for us to encourage individuals to seek help. And within the diabetes management field, we recognize that individuals who are experiencing problems with insulin omission as part of a weight management strategy really do deserve to be treated with mental health services. The first is really to find support for discussing body image, body weight. We know that bodies come in all shapes and sizes, and one of the most important messages to send is your weight is not your worth. It's also important to recognize that type 1 diabetes is a stressful condition, and therefore strategies to help you manage your diabetes and associated stress issues are really very important for individuals. It's also beneficial for individuals to set goals that are realistic and that fit the circumstances that they experience.